Dr. Go is a vascular and interventional radiologist. He is senior consultant and clinical director for the Department of Radiology at Mount Elizabeth Hospital.
Dr. Go completed his primary school education at ACS in 1975. He then attended Anglo-Chinese Secondary School from 1976 to 1979 and finished his ACS education at ACJC in 1981. Dr. Go comes from a long line of ACS Go boys. Dr. Go's grandfather was at the first board of governors. His father, brother, cousins from both sides of the family, and most nephews are old boys of ACS. He's also a parent of the ACS boys since 2006 and was a parent volunteer for the ACS Junior Orchestra from 2008 to 2011.
As you can see, the ACS legacy continues in the Go family. When I asked Dr. Go about himself, he said, "Cancer warrior by day, hate crusader by night, ACS for life." Will you please give a warm welcome to Dr. Peter Go.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Members of the Board of Governors and OEA, ACS, Mrs. Catherine Ko, distinguished guests, parents, teachers, and students of ACS, good morning and happy Founders Day. When I was first invited to speak, I thought I'd just come up here and speak off the cuff about what it means to be an ACS boy. And I was told that I should open with a quotation, perhaps from a famous accent, to inspire fond memories of the school. But all I could think of and remember was Founders Day and the most famous of all ACS principals, Mr. Ernest Lau, saying, "You there, boy in the 4th row from the front, 5th from the left, sit up straight, pay attention." So I thought, okay, maybe not quite appropriate. So I actually prepared a speech. I've timed it about 10 minutes. March the 1st, 1886, 126 years ago, ACS was born. Now 1886 was a very, very famous year. And if you don't remember anything from my message today, remember this important trivial fact. The founding of ACS was the first of 4 significant events which shook the world in 1886 and which gave birth to 4 items, 4 things or institutions without which I cannot imagine the world would be like today. March the 1st was followed by May the 8th when John Stitt Pemberton invented Coca-Cola. ACS boys cannot live without Coca-Cola. And then, on July the 3rd, Carl Benz produced the world's first automobile. And then it went on to become your school principal's car. And then, on Christmas Day, 1886, some may argue and say that I am biased, but the greatest football club in the world was born. Arsenal. I'm sorry, I had to put that in. If you notice, I'm wearing the colors of ACS on my necktie, blue, red, and gold, but when I tried to put on my ACS tie this morning, it was from secondary school and it only came up to the mid-chest. So I couldn't wear that. I didn't realize that children's neckties were actually shorter than adults' neckties. So I picked this out, and the colors are exactly the same, but it's of Arsenal Football Club. Now, one of the most memorable lines in Star Wars Episode 6, The Return of the Jedi, was when the evil Sith Emperor, Palpatine, tried to tempt Luke to the dark side. And Luke, to his credit, like a good ACS boy, said, proudly, I am a Jedi, like my father before me. So folks, I'm here today to tell you this. I am an axiom, like my father before me, and like my son after me. I entered ACS 42 years ago. Way back then, it was called Anglo-Chinese Junior School. It was in Barker Road, and we shared premises with the secondary school. There were only 4 classes back then. We were either primary 1A or B, morning session or afternoon session. My fondest memories of ACJS was squatting by the drain after recess, brushing my teeth with my grubby little toothbrush that was stored in the side pocket of my cardboard bag, filled with pencil shavings, eraser rubbings, and other unmentionable, indeterminate black bits and bobs. Hygiene actually wasn't top of our priority because I remember distinctly dropping that toothbrush many times into the drain, picking it up and continuing to brush my teeth. Now, the most important thing about recess was it was the highlight of the day, playtime. We were either playing 20-cent plastic football in the dusty old field behind Malay class, or we were playing chatik in the school corridors, or marbles, wherever we could find a place to draw a circle with chalk. The holy grail of every ACS boy at recess time was the quadrangle, huge square in the middle of the school, because that was where the big boys played football. There was still plastic football, it still cost 20 cents, but that was where we all wanted to be. And that was why we wanted to get into ACS secondary, so that we could get up to that quadrangle to play plastic football at recess. Founders Day celebrations were phenomenal then because we combined it with ACS Secondary School, and the parades were the greatest thing on earth to a primary school boy attending them. We had the BB, Scouts, military band, St. John's Ambulance, the National Cadet Corps, marching past us around that quadrangle, that little road that was surrounded by the school blocks and the canteen. And I remember especially the drum major of the BB leading the parade, tossing that baton 3 stories up into the sky and catching it, and marching on. And when I became a radiologist many years later and entered Mount Elizabeth Hospital for the first time, that same drum major shook my hand and welcomed me into the group. I could go on reminiscing for ages about ACS, but that would certainly bore you all to tears. So I'm going to refer to my speech. ACS, as mentioned earlier, has grown by leaps and bounds over the years, and as you all heard, it's grown to something which Bishop Oldham never really thought it would become when he first started teaching those children of Chinese businessmen in Amoy Street. But as the saying goes, the more things change, the more things remain the same. And despite modernization, the one thing which pervades, which has lasted through all 126 years, and which defines ACS is the spirit. The ACS spirit. What does it mean, and what exactly do we mean when we sing out loud and sing out proud our ACS forever? Back to Star Wars. The spirit is like the force which binds all all accents together through the generations. It is what spurs us on to achieve success in all endeavors. But to an ACS boy, success is not necessarily defined by victory or top marks in the exam, but having endeavored to the best of their abilities, God-centered and with sportsmanship. It is never about whether you win the race, it's about how you ran the race. The spirit is the intense love of ACS, which all accents have burning in their hearts. And when you grow old like me, is what spurs you to come back when the school calls you. You never leave the school, because ACS is not a school. It's an institution. It's a mentality. It's a way of life. And most importantly, it is a family which crosses generations. And when you enter this school, you enter a family which welcomes you with open arms. And anywhere in the world, I can promise you this, when you declare that you are an ACS boy, you will be welcomed with open arms by Axians, young and old. Now, if you look at the top of the crest, it says the best is yet to be. And that's our motto. It spurs us on to achieve greater heights. It also tells you, never rest on your laurels, because there's something always better. It promises us that at the end of your life, there's something better awaiting us in the next life through Jesus Christ. But what you may not realize is that it comes from an old poem, an old and very, very, very long poem, which I read when I was preparing this speech. But the most important line in that poem goes like this: grow old with me, the best is yet to be. Once you're part of ACS, you're part of the family, and you will grow old with me. It's no wonder that to this day, ACS all around the world send each other text messages on Founders Day. Sitting there, listening to the speeches, I actually had to turn my phone off because I had about 3 text messages from old boys. Actually, I think some of them are sitting there in the audience and they're kind of ribbing me for being up here to deliver the speech. But that's it about ACS. Now that there's Facebook, my Facebook wall is inundated with Happy Founders Day messages. Name me one other school in Singapore that does that. I know a lot from other schools, and trust me on this, I can't think of another one. For that matter, name me one other school in Singapore which has its own mythological creature in the school badge. Head of a lion, wings of an eagle, body of a dragon. Scholars have tried to put a name to it, but ours is unique. Ours is also the only school badge that's in the shape of a shield which inspires ACS boys to be like the knights of old who carry that shield, to be filled with chivalry and honor. It's all around you. You've got a cloth version sewn into your pocket. The real shield awaits your chest when you turn 13, when you enter the big schools. And hopefully you'll sit on your chest for 4 to 6 years and in your hearts forever. So what makes ACS so special is that it embraces everyone. Every ACS boy is encouraged to grow and to achieve. It's recognized as a top school, but it isn't all about studies. It isn't all about top marks in the exam. It's about excellence as well in sports, the arts, and most importantly, character development, with a deep and close relationship with God. So to round up, what did my generation of ACS boys produce? Well, okay, we had the academicians, the top boys. The current dean of medicine was from my class. My brother went on to separate a few Chinese twins. Some of the noisier boys and the talkative ones went into politics. The current Minister of Environment and the current Minister of Transport were in my generation of ACS. But to show you how diverse we are, the current Member of Parliament from Aljunied GRC, Workers' Party, is also from ACS. My father's classmate was Mr. Shamsi Tong, the famous opposition leader. And in sports, in CCA, I remember cheering on the great Ang Peng Siong, Singapore's greatest Olympian, and my head prefect, Poon Jin Teck, who went on to become the head of the Singapore Sports Council. In junior school, I remember playing with my good friend Desmond, who went on to become the chief of the defense force in the Singapore Armed Forces. In In secondary school, I remember acting with Glenn Green and Ivan Heng on Wild Rice Productions. I don't know whether you remember Aladdin from last year, or currently Cooling Off Day in the Drama Center. They were done by Glenn and Ivan. In business, yes, we have the good old, famous, rich, successful ACS boys, but let me tell you this. Did you know that every single piece of pork, every piece of char siu or siu yolk that you eat comes from my classmate Franz? And ACS boys do think out of the box, because my classmate Leslie was one of the inventors of the compact flash card. You know that little card that all of you, the cameras here, have in your phone, and your camera that stores your photos? That was Leslie. All these boys were not just brains, they weren't just top academicians, but what was important was that they were ACS boys. They are excellence. And they achieved great things, thanks to a close walk with God, and more importantly, to its formidable personality which the school has forged over the years. So when my son Russell was sitting for his PSLE last year, there was only one choice where he would be spending the next 4 to 6 years of his life. ACS. Barker, international, independent, it didn't matter. It had to be ACS. I was going to send him there not just for the academics, although independent does have a good reputation with its IB scores, but for its intangibles, things which you can't quantify. Its character development and spirit, intangibles which set you up for life, intangibles which help someone like me, a low-key student, did reasonably well in my exams, didn't do much for CCA, got a pretty good job, got good at what I did in my job, but ultimately got bestowed the highest honor which any ex-Sim can receive, to be invited back to the old school like this, and to have the confidence to come up here and speak to all of you, an awesome audience like this, an audience of young boys who hold the future of our great school in their hands. Happy Founders Day.
Thank you, Dr. Goh. We would like to invite Mrs. Koh to present the Long Service Awards to our staff. For 20 years of service to the school, Ms. Noelle Sabadure.